I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 6 years now. We got married pretty young, and for the most part, I thought we had a good thing going. She's always been a little difficult, bitchy, even, but I figured that was just her personality. She's got a sharp tongue, loves to argue, but she's also funny and smart, and I loved her. We had a stable life, a good apartment, decent jobs, and we were about to have our first kid. Yeah, the big reveal was supposed to be today, our gender reveal party. We had this whole plan, friends and family coming over, balloons, cake, the whole thing. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. But recently I'd started noticing some weird things. She'd be sneaking out of the house more often, hiding her phone, deleting messages, acting all secretive. At first I just brushed it off. Women, right? They have their secrets. Maybe she was just stressed about the pregnancy or dealing with work stuff. I didn't want to overthink it. But then, she started changing her phone password, and when I'd ask her about it, she'd get defensive. She'd say I was paranoid or that I was overreacting. She'd tell me she loved me, that everything was fine even while she was doing her best to hide something. One night I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. I decided to surprise her with dinner. I got to the apartment and noticed her car was still there, but the door was slightly open. That was weird because she always locks up when she's not home. My stomach sank. I pushed the door open quietly, and what I saw changed everything. I could hear muffled voices coming from the bedroom. I froze, my heart pounding. I crept closer and peeked inside through the crack in the door. That's when I saw her, Lisa, lying on the bed, kissing my best friend, Mike. They looked ridiculously into each other, like they'd been doing this for months. I swear it felt like the ground dropped out from under me. I couldn't breathe. My best friend, my wife, right there, cheating on me with each other. I saw their hands, their lips, the way Mike was holding her, like they'd been planning this behind back. I didn't want to believe it at first, but the evidence was right there. I backed away slowly, my mind racing. When I finally found the strength to confront her later that night, she lied. God, she lied so easily. She told me she was just talking to Mike about something important, that they'd been just friends, even though her face was flushed and her hair was all messed up. She told me I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that I didn't know what I was talking about. But I knew better. I saw what I saw. The betrayal hit harder than anything I'd ever felt before. It wasn't just that she cheated on me. It was that she lied so convincingly, so effortlessly, like I was supposed to believe her. She's always been good at twisting the truth, making me doubt myself. I felt a deep, burning anger and also this crushing sadness. How could she do this? How could she hide it from me all this time, pretend everything was fine? And Mike, my best friend. I'd always trusted him, always thought he was a good guy. Turns out he's just as much a snake as she is. That moment, standing there in my own home, I knew my life was about to change forever. After I saw them, everything just collapsed inside me. I didn't even know what to do right away. I stood there for a long time, trying to process what I just witnessed. My mind kept circling back to the fact that the woman I loved, the woman I'd promised to spend my life with, had been lying to my face for months. She told me she loved me every day, while she was sneaking around behind my back with my best friend. That realization hit me like a punch in the gut. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what I was supposed to do next. My first instinct was to confront her again, to demand answers, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. Lisa's the kind of girl who can lie with a smile that makes you doubt your own eyes. I was already starting to feel like I couldn't trust my own judgment. The next morning, I decided I had to get some clarity. I grabbed my phone and started digging through her messages, her emails, her social media. Anything I could find that might tell me how long this had been going on. What I found was worse than I expected. There were messages from Mike, late-night texts where they were planning meetups, talking about how hot she was, how in love they were. She told him she loved him, even while she was sitting next to me, pretending to be the perfect wife. There were also photos, screenshots from her phone of secret conversations and flirtatious selfies she'd sent him. I felt sick. I mean, I knew she'd been distant lately, but I never thought it would go this far. The worst part, she'd always dismissed my worries, called me paranoid or insecure. Now I saw she'd been lying to my face, hiding everything from me. I decided I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I wanted to confront her again, face to face, and get some damn answers. So I called her that morning, told her I needed to talk. She was surprisingly calm, almost too calm, and she kept saying she didn't know what I was talking about, that I was blowing things out of proportion. I told her I knew about Mike, about the texts and the photos, and her reaction was nothing short of vile. She spat out that I was just jealous, that I was insecure because I couldn't handle her success and her freedom. She told me she loved me, that she wanted to keep our family together, but she was not going to live in some prison with a guy who's too jealous for his own good. That was her way of brushing it off, making me feel like I was the one at fault. That moment I realized that she was a master at spinning stories. She'd lie and somehow make me feel like I was the one who was crazy, who was overreacting. That's what she always does, twist everything so she's the victim, even when she's the one cheating behind my back. But I wasn't about to be played anymore. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to do. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not after what I'd seen and learned. I felt this weird mix of rage, heartbreak, and confusion, and I wasn't sure how to move forward. All I knew was that my trust was broken beyond repair, and I was starting to see her for what she really was, someone who lied, cheated, and used me like I was nothing. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and emotional numbness. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and I kept replaying that scene in my head, Lisa on the bed, kissing Mike like he was the only thing that mattered in the world. It was like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. Every time I thought about confronting her again, my stomach clenched up, but I knew I had to face her one last time. I had to hear her lie to my face in person, see her spin her bullshit. I needed closure, even if it meant tearing apart everything I'd ever believed in. When I finally sat her down, her attitude was infuriating. She was so bitchy, so dismissive. She looked at me like I was just some obstacle she had to get around. Her voice, when she spoke, was full of that venomous attitude, like she couldn't be bothered to hide her contempt anymore. Her eyes flashed with annoyance when I brought up the texts and the photos. She said, "You're overreacting, Jake. You're just insecure because I'm pregnant. Maybe I need some fun, some excitement. You know how women are when they're pregnant. I'm not cheating. You just want to control me." I couldn't believe the audacity. She had the nerve to call me insecure while she was out there screwing my best friend behind my back. She lied about everything, making herself out to be the victim. She claimed Mike was just a friend, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill, even though I had the proof right in my hands. She kept spinning stories about how she needed space, how she deserved to be happy, like her cheating was some kind of right she had. Meanwhile, she kept insisting she loved me, that she didn't want to hurt me, that she only did what she had to do. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? She told me she'd never meant to hurt me, that she was just confused and looking for something she didn't get from our marriage. That was her favorite line, always blaming me, always twisting things around. She told me she loved me, even as she was trying to cover her tracks, even as she was lying through her teeth about everything. It was like talking to a damn wall. I was angry, devastated, and honestly, more than a little lost. How do you even start over after something like this? That day, I realized I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. I felt betrayed on every level, by her, by Mike, by myself for not seeing the signs earlier. I wanted to scream, to break something, but I just sat there, staring at her while she kept throwing her little fits and lies. I knew then that whatever was left of our marriage was beyond saving. I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after she'd lied and cheated right under my nose, behind my back, and had the nerve to tell me she loved me while she was screwing someone else. That's when I decided I'd had enough. It was time to figure out how to get out of this mess. The sooner, the better. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. Everything was raw, my heart, my mind, the whole idea of trust. I kept replaying the moments, trying to find some clarity, some reason why I deserved this. I kept asking myself how Lisa could be so cold, so indifferent to what she'd done. It wasn't just the cheating, it was the way she lied and manipulated her way through every conversation, making me doubt myself, trying to turn me into the bad guy. I decided I couldn't stay in the apartment anymore. I needed space to breathe, to think, so I checked into a hotel for a few nights. Honestly, I was afraid to be alone with her again. I felt like I was losing grip on reality. Every time I saw her, she'd give me these bitchy looks like I was just an obstacle in her way. She kept insisting she loved me, that I was overreacting, that she was so done with secrets. But I knew better. I knew the truth. She was still lying, still hiding, still cheating. One night, I finally decided to do something I'd been avoiding: call Mike. I needed to hear it from him directly. I dialed his number and, surprisingly, he answered pretty quickly. When I confronted him, his voice was cocky, like he thought he was the prize. He said, "Look, Jake, I don't know what you're so upset about. Lisa's a free spirit. She's been wanting this for a while. She told me she loved me, and I believe her." I wanted to punch him through the phone. How could he be so cold, so callous? I told him I knew about everything, that I had the evidence. His response: "Good. Maybe now she'll finally be happy." That was the moment I realized how deep this betrayal went. Mike didn't care. Lisa didn't care. They both were so selfish, so determined to chase their own happiness without a second thought about me or the kid on the way. I felt shattered. It was like my whole world was crumbling. I'd trusted her, loved her, and now I was left with nothing but anger and heartbreak. I cried more times than I could count that night. It all felt so unfair. How did I get here? How did I become the guy who'd been duped by his wife and his best friend? The pain was almost physical. I'd never felt anything so intense. By the next morning, after a sleepless night of crying and rage, I made a decision. I was done. Done pretending everything was okay. Done letting her twist everything around. I knew I had to protect myself, and especially my unborn kid. I started packing my stuff, figuring out what I'd need to move out. I wasn't planning to stay under the same roof with a woman who had no problem cheating on me, lying to my face, and then, on top of that, trying to guilt-trip me into staying. I deserved better. I deserved honesty, respect, loyalty. And if she couldn't give me that, then I was better off alone. Honestly, I don't know how I got through that night without losing my mind. I kept thinking about how she said she loved me, how she looked me in the eye and lied so convincingly. It made me realize that love can be a total facade, a mask that people wear to hide their true selves. I felt betrayed to my core. I kept telling myself I'd be okay, that I'd find a way to move on, but right now I just felt hollow. This wasn't how I saw my life going: married, expecting a child, and then finding out everything was a lie. It's like I'd been blindsided by the person I trusted the most. And now I had to figure out what to do with this mess. The decision to leave was the hardest I've ever had to make, but also the clearest. I couldn't stay in that place, not with her, and not with the false hope that things might somehow go back to normal. I packed my bags late into the night, trying to keep it all together, fighting back tears every time I looked around the apartment where we'd built our life. I knew I had to do this for me and for the baby. I couldn't raise a kid in a household full of lies and betrayal. When I finally told Lisa I was leaving, her reaction was as cold as I expected. She looked at me like I was some inconvenience, like my feelings didn't matter. She spat out, "You're overreacting, Jake. This isn't the end of the world. You're just jealous because I'm finally happy. You're just scared you're going to lose me." That's her typical way: blame shifting, denying, making herself out to be the victim. She kept telling me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that I was ruining everything. But I knew better. I knew this wasn't about jealousy, it was about betrayal. About her lying to my face for months and ruining everything we ever had. I left that night with nothing but a bag of clothes and my shattered pride. It hurt so bad, but deep down, I knew I had to do it. I didn't want my kid growing up in a home where love was just a lie. As I drove away, I looked back at the apartment, the place I once thought of as my safe haven, and it felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. That house, those memories, they weren't mine anymore. All I had left was a broken heart and a determination to do better for myself and my child. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew staying would only make everything worse. Over the next few weeks, I went through every emotion possible: rage, sadness, bitterness, relief. I hated Lisa for what she did, but I also hated myself for not seeing it sooner. How could I have been so blind? I kept replaying all the signs, all the little things I ignored, the gut feelings I brushed aside. Now I saw that her love was just a lie, a mask she wore to keep me in the dark. And Mike, God, I don't even want to think about him. My best friend, the guy I trusted most, turning out to be just as selfish and dishonest as Lisa. That realization hurt more than anything. But somewhere in that mess, I found a small piece of clarity. I realized I wasn't the only one who'd been betrayed. My trust had been shattered, yes, but I also learned that some people are just fundamentally self-centered, incapable of loyalty. I wasn't going to let their actions define me. I decided I'd focus on healing, on giving myself time to process everything. I've been trying to stay positive, even though some days are worse than others. The baby's a bright spot in all this chaos. I want to be better for him, to be someone who can trust again, even if I don't know if I ever will fully. Looking back, I see how much I've learned about myself. I learned that love isn't enough if it's not mutual, that some people will always choose themselves over others, and that the worst betrayal isn't just the cheating, it's the lies that cover it up. I can't change what happened, but I can control how I move forward. I'll never forget this pain, but I also refuse to let it define me. Trust is fragile, and I'll be more careful with whom I let into my life now. It's a hard lesson, but it's one I won't forget. I hope anyone else out there going through something similar can find strength, because if I can survive this, everyone can. Now that I've had some time to breathe and reflect, I realize how much this whole experience has changed me, probably forever. I used to think trust was the foundation of everything, but after Lisa and Mike, I see how easily that trust can be broken, how quickly people can turn out to be someone you never knew at all. It's a bitter pill, but I've learned that you can't force someone to stay loyal, to love you honestly. Sometimes, people just aren't who they seem to be, and no amount of reasoning or hope can change that. I've started focusing on myself now, on healing and building a new life where honesty and respect actually matter. I can't say I've completely moved past the pain, but I've accepted that I can't control what Lisa or Mike did. The only thing I can do is choose how I respond. I've been spending more time with my family, working on how to be a better dad, and trying to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner. It's not easy, and honestly, some days are still a struggle. But I know I have to keep going for me and for my kid. What I want anyone reading this to take away is this: trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep. But even in the darkest moments, you find a way to pick yourself up. It's okay to feel broken, to cry, to be furious. I sure was. But don't let the pain define you. Use it as fuel to become stronger, wiser, more careful. Not everyone is worthy of your trust, and that's a lesson I wish I'd learned sooner. Moving on isn't about forgetting. It's about learning to live with what happened and making sure you don't let it ruin your future. So here I am. I don't have all the answers, and I probably never will, but I've got a new perspective now. I still believe in love, but I know I need to be cautious. I know I need to trust my gut more. And I know that no matter how bad it hurts, life goes on. I'll keep pushing forward because I owe that to myself, to my kid, and to the person I want to become. Someone who's seen betrayal but refuses to be beaten by it. That's how I'm choosing to move forward. And honestly, that's all I can do.